Bizarre Brain Comics. Hello, my comic book friends, and welcome to Bizarre Brain Comics. And this is where I like to take a look at some older comics, talk a little bit about the characters and creators, and examine the stories and the art. Well, this time we're going to take a look at some Flash Gordon. But first, remember, got my new book is out, available on Amazon. You can also get it on the Barnes and Noble online and on thrift books. But it does, unfortunately, it does cost more in thrift books, so I would recommend Barnes and Noble. More mainstream than my first book. Some superheroes, a little bit of horror, and some strange science fiction. And that furnace was supposed to kick off. Just turned it down. So, I'm going to take a little look at some Flash Gordon here. First of all, let's do Flash Gordon number 11 from 1967 from King Comics. Remember, for about 2 or 3 years in there, King features Syndicate, the syndicate that owned and carried Flash Gordon and other heroes, had some published their own comics, and it was all new material, not reprint from the comic strips. And speaking of which, I have showed some Flash Gordon stuff before, some paperback books and stuff. That was from the comic strip, reprinting material from the comic strips. But these don't. Now, another strange thing is that, it's kind of strange to me anyway, is that in the comics, in the comic books, well, first of all, in the comic strips, in the 50s, they kind of did a soft reboot of Flash Gordon, and because originally in the 30s, and they took place in the 30s, and went to the planet Mongo. Flash Gordon, Dale Arden, and Dr. Zarkov went to on a homemade spaceship, basically, to the planet Mongo, and all their adventures were on the planet Mongo. But in the 50s or so, they brought him. They all got back to Earth, and there it was like sometime in the future. He was an officer in the military, and he had space adventures elsewhere around in the universe, or in the galaxy, and once in a great while got back to Mongo. and he was a professional astronaut. But and this book is, like I said, from 1967, and what was it, last week before last, whenever it was, when I did that random bit of science fiction comics, I had one of these. I had Flash Gordon from King in that, and but that's not in this batch. And I talked a little bit about the artwork. It's Al McWilliams. They don't give credits here, and this is just lovely Al McWilliams artwork. And as I said at the time, I think he was kind of imitating the art of I think it was Mac Rayboy, who had done the comic strip for several years, and it was just some really lovely artwork. Oops! And now the book is falling apart, and but then here we have is Flash Gordon number 12 from 1969, but it's from Charlton Comics. They got the because King stopped publishing their books, and then Charlton got the license for at least Flash Gordon and the Phantom. I couldn't think of the name. And they did those, and I think they did that was King, and this is still no credits, so you don't know who the writer is, but it's still the lovely still the lovely Al McWilliams art in here. It's some good stories. Then we move up a few years. This is, I think, from 73 or 74. Oh, this is more than that. This is 79. I wanted to point out the King book, published book, had a 15-cent cover price, and yet 2 years later, the Charlton still had a 12-cent cover price. And that's surprising, because by then everybody else had gone up to 15 cents. But here in this issue, from Gold Key, and Gold Key got the license. It was 35 cents, 1979, and this is written by John Warner with Frank Boll, or maybe it's supposed to be pronounced Bolle, doing the artwork. And I've talked about him before. And this is some nice work. It's just not as nice as the Al McWilliams or the later Carlos Garzon. Find another page. And in the 50s, though, Frank Boll had been known as pretty much as a good girl artist. You know, he did westerns and various other things. But his women were just a little bit more sexy. Well, for Gold Key, he'd been working for Gold Key for a long time at this point, over 2 decades, and he had to tone stuff down a little bit, that aspect. But it was still very lovely artwork. Yeah. And then here, a secret radio signal lures Flash into Meg's electronic snare. And as I said, the comic books kept Flash Gordon on Mongo. All in that, like the 1930s period. I happen to have 2 copies of this particular issue, which was 22 from 1979. And that other one was issue 21. And still have the Frank Boll and John Warner creators. But still very nice. Then Flash and Warlord Moran stalk each other in a game of death, and I think this is the issue that I had covered before in depth, all by itself. This is a 40-center, but it's from Whitman. Of course, that was still a Gold Key comic, but it was just a Whitman edition because they sold them separately, definitely. And this is 79 with John Warner still doing writing, but now it's got Carlos Garzon as the artist. He had worked with Al Williamson, who also did some Flash work, but none of these. And but his is had some very nice artwork, and I think he had a few swipes in here from Alberto Giolitti, which is fine. It's still some nice artwork. And if there's another 40 center, still from 79. This is 24, so we're getting close one. And another Whitman is still John Warner and Carlos Garzon are the creators. I keep opening it up and I keep getting the ads, double page ads pages. It's really nice artwork. And then here, next is another 40 center. This is 27 from 1980. And this is written by Gary Poole and still has the Carlos Garzon art. And of course, all of these great cover paintings. I think that, and they're primarily George Wilson. I'm relatively sure. Just nice Carlos Garzon artwork. Now we're back to Whitman. This is a 50 center, and from 1980. This is number 30, and still, because at this point they're giving credits back to John Warner doing the writing, but this time the art is by Gene Fawcett, which is still some really nice artwork, but just not quite as nice as Garzon or Al McWilliams. But it's still very lovely, very nice. And of course, none of them compare. None of them can compare to Alex Raymond, the creator, because he was the master. Yes, see some really nice artwork, and all of them, some great artwork. This is another 50 center. This is number 35 from 81, because these were, I think, bi-monthly. Doesn't say, because this is Whitman, and they didn't say that. It's Queen of Ice and Fire, Part 1, and John Warner and Carlos Garzon again. Some nice, fun adventures and some beautiful artwork. And they all did such a nice job. Then the last one of this section is Flash Gordon, a 60 center, still from Whitman. This is from number 36 from 81. But this one, where is it? Yes, George Kasdan wrote it and Al McWilliams is back to doing the artwork. But yet, it's still fine artwork by McWilliams, but it's just not quite as lovely as what he had done a decade before, in my personal opinion. It's just and good fun story. Oh, and I wanted to point out something here, that in this, for reference, because this is about the time of the Flash Gordon movie, and they had the adaptation of that. At about this time, though, he was using photo reference from the movie for some of the characters. In this case, here's Clytus. He looks like if you can see that there, the metal face guy, like he did in the movie. But obviously, it's not tied directly to the movie because that character was killed. And some of the, let's see where the other is, and the some of the stuff that Ming the Merciless is wearing. He looks just like he did there in the movie. And probably some other stuff. One interesting thing about this particular issue, and some of the others too, I guess, is that it is more than one story in the issue. Most of the others are issue-length stories. Then we have here from the 3D Zone, the 3D version of Flash Gordon. Unfortunately, I don't have the glasses with this, but I have some elsewhere easily. And this is from 1988, but this is reprinting in 3D Alex Raymond art. I don't know if you can make that out because of the 3D effect. Alex Raymond art from the comic strip. But if you can make that out, just totally lovely. I dropped something, so out of there. Then, just for extra, just because I only have a couple of issues of these, throw in. There's what year was this? 88. Yeah, at the same time, is from Eternity Comics is Cosmic Heroes #1, and this was I think it only ran for like 10 issues or something, and I have a couple others elsewhere as well. But this is reprinting the Buck Rogers comic strip by Philip Nolan and Culkin. What's his name? Dick Culkin. So the original Buck Rogers, and I've covered Buck Rogers here before as well. But not so much of the strip. I have both Flash Gordon and Buck Rogers. I have a lot of, well, not as much as I'd like though, several volumes reprinting comic strip stories. Then issue 3 of Cosmic Heroes, again, still with Buck Rogers. Oh, I wanted to point out something I had mentioned when I covered one of these books before, is the of course, the covers are illustration from blown up illustrations from the interior, but I wanted to point out that the coloring, and some of the others were actually much better than this. The coloring was done by Bruce Timm. That's Bruce Timm from Batman the Animated Series. And then conclude these with another comic strip, science fiction comic strip, and I only have a couple issues of these, is Space Cadet. Tom Corbett, Space Cadet, from comic strip, and drawn by Ray Bailey. I presume he wrote it as well. I don't know. I didn't see anything about the writer. And it has a kind of a Milton Caniff look to it. Yeah, and it's nice. Now, this is Tom Corbett, Space Cadet, and they had a 50s TV series based on it. But also, the thing is that Space Cadet, and that's issue 3, and here is that's issue 2, and this is issue 3. Still, Space Cadet. But the interesting thing about this is that Tom Corbett's Space Cadet is very loosely based on the Robert Heinlein novel of Space Cadet. The character had a different name though, but that is what it is very loosely based on. So, and all some good fun science fiction reading. Great Flash Gordon adventures on the planet Mongo. Got that turned around. So that's what I've got for you this time. I want to thank you all for joining me. Please like, share, and subscribe. And if you do have any Flash Gordon friends, share this with them, or just generic general science fiction fans. Remember, even Star Wars fans, because remember, you couldn't have had Star Wars without Flash Gordon. And you couldn't have had Flash Gordon without John Carter of Mars, because he was originally like a rip-off of that. But do you like these Flash Gordon? Like the comic strip? Do you like the comic books? Do you like the movies? How about the 50s TV series? And then they had that horrendous TV series about 15 years ago on the Sci-Fi Channel, which is really terrible. But or the classic movie serials. Whatever. Let me know what you think of all of those. All this. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And remember, comics are art.